What is your takeaway from that in terms of how the companies decided to communicate these details?
Yeah, I mean, this was from what I understand, this was a call that was scheduled in advance that Pascal Soriot was having with J.P. Morgan investors. But again, at the same time, he could have canceled the call. It wasn't a call that he had to have. And like you said, there was so much interest and attention being focused not only on the development of these vaccines, but on this new development and this potential safety problem. And so, it does. To me, it raises some questions about Astrazeneca's commitment to transparency when it comes to the development of their COVID-19 vaccine, where the CEO would go on a private call with investors and give them information, but yet the company seems to be unwilling at this point to offer that information to the broader population. And I would note in particularly information to other participants in their COVID-19 vaccine clinical trials. If you think about it, there are a lot of people who are, putting themselves at some risk by volunteering to participate in these clinical trials. And those people certainly deserve as much information as anyone.
Adam, it's Dom here. I guess to follow up on that point, do you feel as though, there are a number of names outside of AstraZeneca that are involved in this race for a vaccine. Do you believe that the playbook or the communication strategy will be altered for some of these other companies, given what we've seen out of AstraZeneca with this particular trial being paused?
Well, Dom, I think we all know how closely watched these vaccine trials are. We all know about the talk about the political pressure being put on to get vaccines as soon as possible. And I think, transparency is something that will help instill some confidence in the development of these vaccines, in their efficacy and their safety. An important point needs to be made, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, is that, in some ways what happened with this patient and the fact that the clinical trials are being paused is actually in some way a good thing, because it tells you that the clinical trials, as they're designed, is set up to identify any potential risks or safety issues that might pop up. So the fact that this has happened in some way is good. You'd rather have it happen in a clinical trial than if this vaccine was released to the public and it went into millions of people, and then we found out that there was a problem. So in that way, the process is working. I just think that there should be as much transparency as possible.
Yeah, Adam, it's Meg again. Just to kind of jump off that point you just made, I have heard the point be made by folks like Peter Bach, who is a major critic of the pharmaceutical industry's practices many times, as well as some folks in the investor community who believe, this wasn't necessarily material news from an investor standpoint, or necessarily even as big of a deal as, has been made out of it, because we just don't know if this is a serious safety event related to the vaccine. And so if looked at through that lens, the CEO's decision to answer questions about it on an investor call are not necessarily concerning. What do you think about that?
I think we all realize that vaccines have side effects. As you reported and we reported in the earlier clinical trials, all of these vaccines do have some level of side effects. I think what is different in this instance is that the side effect was serious enough that, independent data monitors took a look and recommended to AstraZeneca that they suspend enrollment, they suspend these clinical trials. So that I think that does take it into a realm of materiality for the company, and it takes it into a realm where that as much information as possible, as quickly as possible, should be disclosed to the public, and maybe not first to a group of private investors.
All right, Adam, thanks so much. And, guys, I should just mention, we, of course, have reached out to AstraZeneca, asked for Pascal Soriot, the CEO, to come on and join us. We haven't heard back. I've also reached out to J.P. Morgan to ask for a transcript of this call, which was not open to media, and they said it's not immediately available. Adam, thanks again. And back over to you guys, Kelly and Dom.
Yeah, no, Meg, we very